There was a certain amount of scepticism about it, but I have been told by a really impeccable source who does know completely what they're talking about, some details about Charles's cancer treatment. So in the run-up to Christmas, what the treatment basically was consisting of, I can exclusively reveal, and I am exclusively having all the details on my Substack over the next week, was a extremely innovative, very, very expensive series of weekly immunotherapy injections. There's an RNA element. Of course, people will be familiar with RNA from the COVID vaccine, sort of almost on the border of, some people would call it genetic engineering. It's that novel and that's innovative. I'm told that chemotherapy was not part of the treatment, that there was some radio undertaken as well. And most importantly, I am told that we should take the king at his word when he said in December that the treatment had worked. It has worked apparently exceptionally well. Wow. And people are incredibly confident that the king's reign could now extend to his natural lifespan. Even it could be that positive. Now, all of this comes with the proviso, of course, that with cancer, things can change really quickly. But there is huge confidence amongst the king's medical team, amongst his personal staff, amongst his family, that perhaps we are over the worst of this. He's going to live with cancer for the rest of his life. The cancer is incurable. There is no prospect of him ever being cancer-free. But with the right management, and I say this trip has taken a lot out of him. I wouldn't expect to see him for a couple of weeks now, doing too much, perhaps until the trooping of the colour. I think there's going to be a very, very carefully managed schedule. And to be honest, Paula, we need it. William is a fantastic figure, but I don't believe that he is ready for the throne yet. I think that we're seeing in Charles the value of the long apprenticeship. And let's just hope, that hopefully, long live the king.
Today, we are witnessing something I honestly thought I'd never see. The British media establishment, the very people who have spent years trying to tear down Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, are finally starting to crack. They are looking at the future of the monarchy. They're looking at Prince William, and they are absolutely terrified. You heard that right. Even the biggest royal sycophants, the people who usually bow and scrape for a headline, are now admitting out loud, William is not ready. He's not ready for the throne, he's not ready for the work, and frankly, it sounds like he's barely ready to get off his couch. While the Sussexes are out there changing lives and showing what actual leadership looks like, back in the UK, the Heir is being described as a petulant brat with no self-regulation. Ouch. And wait until you hear about King Charles's new medical update. It's innovative, it's expensive, and it's effectively ruining the King William coronation plans that certain people were supposedly already filming. Stay tuned, because today we are slamming the critics and taking a massive dig at a monarchy that is looking more like a joke every single day. Let's get into it. 277 Mon. Section 1. The Not Ready Bombshell Host. Let's start with the man of the hour, Tom Sykes. Now, if you follow the royal beat, you know Sykes is usually right there in the mix of the mainstream UK media. But recently he dropped a truth bomb that has the palace mouthpieces in a total frenzy. He flat out said, William is a fantastic figure, but I don't believe that he is ready for the throne yet. Now, read between the lines there. When a royal expert says someone isn't ready after they've had 40+ years to prepare, what they're actually saying is that the person is a disaster. Social media has been on fire since this came out. One tweet put it perfectly. What they mean by he's not ready is that he's a petulant brat with no self-regulation whatsoever. Think about that. This is the man who is supposed to be the stable one. The media has spent years painting Harry as the hot-headed brother. But here we are in 2026, and the truth is finally coming out. William's temper, his inability to handle pressure, and his complete lack of the long apprenticeship that Charles had to go through. It's all becoming a public liability. The UK media is in a corner. They've protected William for so long, burying stories of his petulance. But now that the king is ill and the reality of a King William reign is staring them in the face, they are panicking. They realise that without the Sussex distraction to blame everything on, William has to stand on his own 2 feet. And guess what? He's wobbling. 7 to 12 unknown. Section 2. The Macbeth coronation and King Charles's health. Host. Now, let's talk about the king. There has been so much scepticism and, frankly, some pretty dark rumours coming out of the UK tabloids about Charles's health. But the latest exclusive details tell a very different story, one that might be a bit of a nightmare for those waiting in the wings. We're hearing about a treatment that is extremely innovative and very, very expensive. We're talking weekly immunotherapy injections with an RNA element. Some are even calling it a form of genetic engineering. It is cutting-edge stuff that most people in the UK could never dream of accessing on the NHS. But hey, that's the benefit of the Crown, right? The word is that Charles is responding exceptionally well. His medical team is confident he could live to his full natural lifespan. And honestly, I hope he lives to be 110. Why? Because it seems to be driving the Willie and Kate Macbeth camp absolutely crazy. There are rumours, and these tweets are savage, that they had already started filming their coronation. Can you imagine the entitlement? To be so eager for the crown that you're basically picking out your outfit while the current king is still fighting for his life. It's Shakespearean in the worst way possible. The media wants us to believe that William is this dutiful son, but the leaks coming out now suggest a lot of tension. If Charles lives another 20 years, William will be an old man by the time he hits the throne. For someone who reportedly hardly works and hardly tours, that's a long time to spend as a glorified apprentice who can't even handle a few public appearances without needing a 3-week holiday. 12 Mahon, 17 Mahon. Section 3. The 24 million holiday. Heir, host. Let's get into the work ethic, or the complete lack of one. The British public is currently paying roughly 24 million a year for an heir whose life, apparently, revolves around 3 things: football, video games, and sleeping all day. This isn't just us saying it, even the royal mouthpieces are starting to leak it. We've seen reports that William hardly works and hardly does any appearances. While Harry is travelling to places like Australia and Kiev, showing up for veterans and World Security Forums, William is apparently on holiday, as he usually does for weeks on end. The latest joke? His attendance at international events depends on how well the England football team is doing. If they lose, he goes on holiday. If they win, he might show up for a photo op. Is this a future king or a university student on a permanent gap year? The UK media, like the Daily Mail and The Sun, love to talk about value for money. They used to attack Meghan for the cost of her clothes she often paid for herself or represented with grace. Yet they stay silent while William drains millions from the taxpayer to play video games and self-regulate his temper in private. It's becoming very, very evident that Prince William isn't up for the job. He wants the perks, he wants the $24 million, and he definitely wants the king title. But he doesn't want the work part. He's been quiet quitting the monarchy for years, and now that the spotlight is actually on him, he's blinking. Sistafanes in Seventons Brown. 21. Section 4. The UK media's hypocrisy. Host. And this brings us to the real villains of the story, the UK media establishment. For years they've acted as William's personal PR firm. They've attacked Harry and Meghan for privacy, while literally printing the Sussexes' private letters. They've called Meghan divisive for simply existing as a successful independent woman. But look at how they treat William. They see him as a joke. They know he's lazy, but they've spent a decade hiding it. Why? Because the monarchy is their meal ticket. Without the fairy tale of the royals, these tabloids have nothing to sell. But the fairy tale is dead. You can't sell a stable future king when your own experts are saying he's a petulant brat. You can't sell duty when the guy takes more holidays than a flight attendant. The contrast between the two brothers has never been more clear. One left the toxic environment to build a life of genuine impact, while the other stayed behind, grew bitter, and is now being exposed by his own supporters as incompetent. The media is trying to pivot, but we see you. We see the hypocrisy. We see how you try to protect the blood royals while throwing anyone else under the bus. 21-22. Outro. Empowering call to action. Host. At the end of the day, the truth is coming out, and it's not a pretty picture for the House of Windsor. When even the sycophants are jumping ship, you know the ship is sinking. Prince William is finding out the hard way that you can't just inherit respect. You have to earn it. And while he's busy sleeping all day and planning his next holiday, the rest of the world is moving on. What do you guys think? Is William ever going to be ready, or is the monarchy just a dying institution clinging to a very expensive, very lazy heir? Let me know in the comments below. I want to hear from the Sussex squad. If you enjoyed this deep dive and you want to stay updated on the real royal news they don't want you to hear, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. Turn on those notifications so you never miss a video where we slam the critics and stand up for what's right. Thanks for watching, stay catching, and I'll see you in the next one.